This is Leafs Morning Take with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill.
Now we've got a fight started here right off the bat with Rosehill.
30 minutes of live, nonstop Leafs talk starts now.
What is good, everybody? For the second straight season, the Leafs are having a November to remember. The power of the Muzzy, I tell you, even though I don't have the mustache going this November, but we all know my handles on social media at the Gold Muzzy. It's Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill back together. I tell you, these are tough when you can't do the Fridays and Mondays. It feels like a while, but lots of positives in Leafs land right now, Rosie. What's going on, buddy?
Yeah, no doubt, man. Home sweet home. I'm back. Looks like you're still abroad, though. Wondering what you've been up to down there. A little sketchy. But no, man, it seems like we've been a while since we've been together. So, yeah, Leafs land should be pretty happy right now. And, yeah, so are we. We're back at her.
I won't lie. I've been mucking around here in Fort Lauderdale, back home in the mix coming up tonight, though. But it's one of those days where you check out. We got late checkout at 2 Eastern time. I'm with Dave Pagnotta, who was a guest on the show last week. So at least we got the late checkout. But I don't know about you. I can't stand those travel days that are just extended and you sort of have to wait, knowing the inevitable that you're going home. But I am in Fort Lauderdale, so I will hit the beach till my 9 p.m. flight. So there's been worse situations, I would say.
Yeah, I'd rather that than be up at 6 a.m. hitting the road like I had to do to get to California. And my kid hasn't thrown up in like 3 years, and he's puking in the car on the way there, and just a nightmare. I'd rather do what you're doing, buddy.
Yeah. If you only knew what I was up to. No, I'm kidding. It's been a great time. I'm calling it a pre-scout for All-Star Weekend. As you know, I'll be about out here for All-Star Weekend as well, coming up in a couple months. So yeah, it's been loads of fun, but you can't talk about fun and not talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. So remember to subscribe, tap that like button, leave us a review. Don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com for the very latest on all things Toronto Maple Leafs. Thoughts, comments, concerns, or questions, leave those down here in the YouTube chat down below. We'll get to them. And it is the power of positivity on this Tuesday. This team is feeling so good about life. So I ask you, again, you've been a part of many teams in your career. What's it like to be in a dressing room when the team is on an absolute heater like the Maple Leafs are right now?
Yeah, it's like the polar opposite of their October and their road trip in October.
Yeah.
You know, when you're losing like that California swing they had, man, it's just like everyone's quiet. Even if like you don't want to tell a joke or smile or be seen by the GM or the coach laughing or something, everything's serious business. We're pissed. This isn't right. We got to fix things. And everyone wants that. But like every aspect of your day, the dinners are quieter, the pregame meals are quieter. And now these guys are on this heater, a completely different month, a completely different road trip. Everything, the biggest problem is not getting too high, like not getting too goofy and not getting too satisfied. Like the coach will be like, all right, like still work to do. And like, that's your biggest problem because everything's just going so good. So they're flying high right now, and, you know, for good reason, right?
Oh, definitely. A 4-2 win against Detroit last night. And again, it was a normal suspects, but we've been talking about this for like a week now since the Riley injury. It's just been so impressive, the unity, the team buy-in, the fact that they don't score first in the game, and it just really did not matter. And the Leafs came to pay. So with that in mind, let's get over the boards. So 14-5-5 now on the season for the Maple Leafs. A road sweep, 4 in a row. They're feeling great about life. They're 10-1-3 in the month of November, but pretty much they took care of business again on Monday night, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, man. They look resilient. They look poised. They don't look like they have much panic in them. Like you said, you get scored on first. That's definitely not ideal. And they just respond bang, bang right after. Like they're not worried about things. And, you know, when a team is confident in itself and it knows that it's capable of doing certain things, you don't panic. You have no reason to panic. You can get down a goal or two and you know, just stick to your game plan. You don't try to reinvent the wheel or start changing everything and panicking. You just, hey, we're all right. Do our thing. We know what we are and who we are, and away you go. And you pull out wins like they did last night. Like it's just like you said, they got scored on first and then just boom, 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 4 in a row right back, like zero hesitation. And they're very poised and collected right now. And it's fun to watch, right?
It is. And, you know, and so it had me thinking last night. So you watch Matt Murray, just another brilliant effort. Again, it's just been such a crazy story considering how it started. You know, he played one game, then he was injured for like 14 or 15, and then he returns and he just can't be beat right now. He, you know, only the post is beating him. But at which point are you going to be fully comfortable with Matt Murray thinking? Because I don't know about you. I watch the games and I'm just waiting for an injury to happen. I know it's the wrong way to look at things, but it is sort of the resume and track record with this guy, but he deserves so much credit, Rosie. Like, he is keeping this team in. And most importantly, maybe the one thing we haven't seen in recent memory, say the last 10 years, is they're getting that big save when they needed to solidify a victory. And I thought he was really good in the third period last night.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's a huge thing. I mean, a goalie can look like they're, on paper played a pretty good game, but if you don't make that
Yeah.
one save that kind of keeps the momentum and like shuts them down and says, well, that was your big chance of the last 10 minutes of the third period or something, and doors still closed, then it's kind of like, well, maybe it's not our night for that team that's putting the pressure on you. And Matt Murray's making those saves right now, and he does just look solid. And it's just, nobody knows how this guy is going to hold up. There's
Yeah.
no, I mean, his track record is not great with injuries, but I've seen guys that are hurt for 2 years straight, and then they're
Hmm.
good, they're fine, they're healed, it never happens again. And it is kind of suspect that he got hurt first game of the year. You'd think that if it were going to be behind him, that whole summer off and all the rehab, and he'd get the doctors to check him, he'd be rock solid, ready to go. And then first game, my God. But so far so good. And it's true that he's a quality goalie when he's healthy, and he's proving that. And it's nice to know that his backup in Samsonov, who's should be getting ready to come back here soon, hopefully. I haven't heard any news actually, but
Yeah.
you can take the pressure off of him with that. If he's getting sore, if he needs some extra work on some things, you got a quality backup to put in there. And I mean, they could fight all year long on who's the starter, who's the backup. I think it's just wicked to have kind of a 1-2 punch. So time will tell if he holds up, but so far so good as far as him being healthy once he has returned.
That's the amazing thing for me throughout this winning streak, or this month in general for this team, is again the injuries, and then who's been in net for them predominantly, and that's been Eric Shalgren, right? Like, I think he deserves a lot of credit, but from that standpoint, I don't think this team is giving much defensively. And if you were to tell me that 2 weeks ago, Rosie, I'd call you crazy. We all know you are crazy, and we've seen your scraps in the show, but it's one of those things where I think it's been a complete team buy-in. I know it's cliche to say that, but I haven't seen that much, specifically not in October, that's for sure. But to have the team unity, the team buy-in, everybody seems to be playing for the crest on the front of the jersey. I don't know what happened, if there was a meeting or something behind the scenes, but to me, it's just a much different looking Leafs team. I think the goaltending's been solid, but defensively is the crazy thing for me again. Just more so, you look at the personnel out of this lineup, and guys like Mac Hollowell. Yes, Mac Hollowell have really, really stepped up. So has Rasmus Sandin, right?
Yeah, I know. And I mean, that's the reason for my positivity. I'm not just blindly
Yeah.
going, wow, this team can actually win a game. They're going to go
They're
all the
so
way.
good.
It's the way they're doing it. And it's their,
Yeah.
I'm fully aware of their problems in the past, and, the way I just don't like the way they've gone about trying to win games in the past by trying to win 7-5. It's just not sustainable. It doesn't work in the playoffs. I don't care how many hot shits you have on your top 3 forwards. You're not going to keep the puck out of your net. You need a goaltender. You need some defense. And I just see a different team right now, and it is totally a head scratcher on how that's come together with a plethora of
Yeah.
injuries. Usually that will crater, you in the standings by going through a sustained amount of time with key components out of your entire roster, including goaltenders and important defensemen. Like, that's number one that you need. And they have weathered the storm, and they continue to build, which is crazy. I mean, the only thing that could throw them off is everyone gets healthy again, and you come back in, and then all of a sudden the chem's off again, and the chemistry's not there, and all of a sudden you can't find it, which would just be insane. But not something you obviously would actually worry about. But they have done a buy-in. They've committed to defense, and it's out of necessity, right? You got that many people out. You can't afford to take a bunch of shifts off where you don't back check and you don't follow your assignment in the D zone. And I mean, the forwards understand they got to help out. The D-men understand they're under the fire and they got to give everything they got. The goalies understand they're going to get more pressure and they got to be on their game. And everyone's just come together, and it's been really solid hockey. And you just hope that they are just putting the building blocks together and continuing to get better, because they're goddamn good right now. So if they continue to get better, it'll be a really hell of a good hockey team.
Living on hope, that's for sure. And there's just so much hockey to play until the springtime when it really, really matters, as you know. But it got me thinking and wondering too, like, there's been a lot of conversation about what this team needs ahead of the trade deadline in a couple months. And I wonder if this could shift the focus of the brain trust involved, knowing that they can actually play team defense and not get, a top 4 guy, not get a top 2 guy. I think that'd be the wrong decision. I think ultimately it's a different game in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and more times than not, with the matchup game, you'll get exposed. But at the very least, a lot of positives to grab from this really, really strong November 10-1-3. Speaking of which, Magic Mitch Marner. I know I gave this guy a lot of heat in October, man. He has been spectacular. And I think specifically watching the game last night, it seemed like every shift he was on, the puck was on his stick. And you can tell he's using with confidence when he's doing the spinorama plays and like the passes he's making. Like this guy is so dialed in right now, Rosie.
Yeah, he totally is. You can tell by his interviews and stuff. He's just oozing
Yeah.
confidence right now, and he's just oozing skill and oozing confidence, and that's a combination to do some damage, right? And the thing I like about it is that he's not trying to find that stuff by doing out of the ordinary stuff. Everything he's doing is with the grain. It's not against the grain. He's not pulling some
Yeah.
weird spin around move where you're like, what the fuck are you doing? Get that to the net or drive the net, or someone was driving and pulling that demon and you pull that shit out and making turnovers and then hanging your head and starting the back check kind of half-heartedly. It's like, dude, that doesn't fly. And he's done that stuff in the past, but you got to give him credit. He's a hell of a lot better hockey player than I've ever dreamed of being. So what's going on in his head, I can't totally know. But at the beginning of the season, you're trying to find that stuff. He calls it buzzing. I like to buzz out there. I like to buzz. He's trying to buzz and get things going. And if that means a couple turnovers in October while he's trying to find his game in order to elevate it to this level right here, so be it. But there's no doubt he's buzzing. He's not doing the stuff that, like I said, against the grain stuff that's causing turnovers and affecting his team negatively. It's just obviously all positive with, the way he's running this streak right now. And we'll see if he can actually, tie the boys at the top of that record with the point streak there with Daryl Sittler and Eddie Olchuk. But I can tell that in this market, that's one of those things he gets asked about it every bloody day. Last night, he's like, you just won't drop this, will you? Like, of course they're not going to drop it. You're one game away now. Is going to be the focus. And I just hope he doesn't change anything and try too hard, because it's something that would be nice if he did. And then he can stop worrying about it and start focusing on the team rather than the individual shit that really doesn't matter.
It really would be the cherry on top to just a magnificent November, right? With the final game being against the San Jose Sharks. I think they're looking to avenge that ugly loss earlier in the season in that terrible October. And Marner, again, is trying to tie the record. And this is history, man. Like, it really, really is incredible, especially you look at those two names, and then you look at Marner and what he's put together, a lifelong Leaf fan, grew up a Leafs fan, and now with the opportunity to tie those two big boys, it really, really is something special. And no doubt that's going to be the storyline going into the game tomorrow night. But I think, to your point, Rosie, it's more so how he's doing it. Like, weirdly enough, I still think Marner has like another level to get to, but you can tell game after game after game, he's getting more and more confidence. And the great thing about this, and this having played the game, when a player is buzzing or whatever he likes to call it like this, I think it's contagious. And that's why I think he's as big of a piece and reason as to why this team has really, really found a hot streak here in November.
Yeah, for sure. And like you say, you think he's got another level. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy to say, but like we've seen this team play where like one of those guys, like especially, Matthews and Marner, they can take over a game where they have a 3-point night and they set up the two big goals that just separates the win from the loss, and they won the game single-handedly, and they're just that flashy and that good. And they have not been winning that way. It's been this, everyone's chipping in. It's been, we kept the puck out of our net at key times. We killed that huge penalty. We scored on the power play by, a good entry. And, we set it up and we stayed patient, and you're executing plays and you're working together. It's like these actual team wins. It's not just these flash in a pan. Well, this absolute star NHLer just took over tonight and won us a game. Great. But that's just not the stuff you want to rely on. And it's not that. And like you say, I think especially those two big boys definitely have more to give. And if they do, I mean, even better, because what they're giving right now is definitely getting the job done. So, credit to that.
If they do, watch out. That's the key point. A complete is another word I would use with sort of the efforts the last little while, especially when you like gauge the barometer and you look back at October and you look at some of those games, you're like, holy fuck, what was going on? It's like night and day, but certainly feeling good about this team and feeling good about Austin Matthews. Like, you started to wonder a bit late in last week, especially in that game in Minnesota, what's going on? Like, he seemed a bit off. But then this is what Austin Matthews does. He comes back with goals in back-to-back games. He's racking up the points. You think he's turning a corner here, Rosie?
I think so. I think he's just so confident in himself, and he understands
Yeah.
that. Like, people keep asking, it's always people from the outside, like, what is there something wrong with Austin and stuff? And people that follow this team closely are like, no, nothing's wrong with him. He's effective, and he's making plays. And is it magic right now? No, but people are like, oh, he doesn't score 5-on-5. Oh, and then he bangs in like 3, 4, five,
Yeah.
and
He's
five
just
goals
not.
right in a row,
Yeah.
and he's capable of getting it done. Mitch Marner has the spotlight right now. For a while there, Nylander had the spotlight. Then for a while, Tavares has the spotlight, and it really doesn't matter who has the spotlight. I think he's very content with what's going on with this team. He's had the personal accolades, and has it given him everything he wanted? No. Did he have a shit summer? Yeah. Has he been frustrated more often than not? Yeah. So I think he's smart enough to understand that I don't care if the spotlight's not on me right now. I don't need to carry this team. It doesn't work that way. And I imagine as he's becoming more of a professional and more of a veteran, he understands that. But certainly his effort levels there. I'm not worried about him at all. Like you say, he's quietly kind of putting up really good points and scoring in key situations and scoring in different situations, power play, 5-on-5, whatnot. I think that he's due to heat up, and if he does, again, look out, because he's that sickeningly good at hockey and invaluable to this team, and he has not been holding them back whatsoever this year. And if he does, exponential things like he's capable of, then all the more reason for them to really steamroll teams. You'll start seeing him win by
And
4 goals here if he starts to heat up.
And that's the scary part about this whole thing. You see the stat board right there. He's now 21st in the league in scoring, 11 goals, in 24 outings. You know that's going to change over the span of the next couple weeks, and no doubt I think he's going to be at least in the top 5. I would still, in fact, even put money on him to win the Rocket Richard. He's that good. Do you remember any former teammates or line mates or players that you played with that ooze the confidence, that have the confidence and the swagger that an Austin Matthews does? Like, that's what I love most about this guy. It seems like nothing phases him, where I think, as you know, having been in the league, like you can get down really, really quickly and it spirals out of control. It just doesn't seem to happen with Matthews.
No, I mean, I think those elite players, I mean, I can't relate to them as far as, having
Yeah.
that confidence and trust in your abilities, but playing with those good players, I'm reminded of like a Claude Giroux, where, he's a
But
player who's been
yeah.
known to, like, maybe have a little bit of a cold streak or a slow start. And, I remember, I'd hang out with him, and we're in his car, and, some guy on the street is like, dude, are you going to score soon or what? And you're like, fuck off or whatever. But then you like see how, that could affect a person. But he's just like, then he gets on the ice and he's just does the same thing and trusts his process. And then lo and behold, he just goes absolutely on fire for a period of time. And I just think that those guys throughout their whole careers, being minor hockey, then you're playing junior hockey, then you're getting into the pros, and you just got to trust your abilities. And I mean, can you think of being a player that you'd trust your ability more than Austin Matthews? I mean, he's phenomenal, and he's capable, and he is playing just fine. It's just a matter of getting those ducks in a row and having a little bit of that magic come into the fray. And I can't imagine he's anything but very pleased with where everything is right now. And I think he's more focused on team right now, just because he's had the personal accolades, like I said, and it didn't really do him any good. He wants the big picture, and they're kind of getting that right now.
I like that. And we often talk about John Tavares being very stoic, like you never know what he truly is thinking. And I think
Yeah.
along those lines, I would put Matthews in that very conversation too, where I think it's a bit different than, say, a Nylander or a Marner, where they sort of, you know what's going on, right? I think you look at Matthews, you know, one of the major takeaways from the disappointments of years past in the Stanley Cup playoffs is that all in all, Matthews hasn't been the story one way or another. I think he has found ways to enter himself into a hockey game physically with a big goal, a big point, a big play. And that's honestly, I think, what sets him apart from, the majority, 99% of the league, right? That's why he's in the upper echelon. That's why he's a top player in this league. But that's the one thing, the lasting thing with Matthews. I'm always at a point where I think he's going to score the next shift. And it's crazy to think that way, but he's just so damn good. Like, it's scary.
Yeah, for sure. And like you say, it's hard to know what he thinks. He's been so trained, and he's not going to put
Yeah.
himself in a position where more pressure's on him, or he puts his foot in his mouth, or he's not going to give
Yeah.
anyone an opportunity to say, ha ha, told you so, or oh, what an idiot he is for that. He's just going to say, listen, I don't really care about your newspapers. I don't read them. I'm not here to give you clicks on your whatever the hell it is you're
Your
interviewing me
YouTube
for.
show.
Exactly. He's not going to give anybody anything. And I mean, John Tavares is the perfect example of that. Maybe it's just his actual personality, but I know guys that are just
Yeah.
flying off the handle, behind the scenes, being absolute maniacs and characters and having tons of
Yeah.
personality, and in front of the camera, the most boring guy in the world. And that's obviously by design, but I think with a guy
Yeah.
that's of his caliber of superstardom, it's smart to do that. It sucks for us because we want the craziness, but he's pretty stoic, and I only think he cares about what's inside of him and when he's on the ice.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll see if Matthews can make it 3 in a row coming up on Wednesday night. Again, Erik Karlsson, you want to talk about stories in this early season? He's back. And so are the
Yeah.
San Jose Sharks to the extent of they're getting offense from guys you wouldn't think would be in the mix still at this point, given what they did the last couple of years. Logan Couture has been a great story as well. And another guy I think we'll be watching closely when it comes to San Jose, because the questions are coming with Karlsson, man. I'm telling you, tomorrow you're going to hear that media storm. Hey, what would you think of Toronto? Timo
Yeah.
Meier is another guy that I think we should look at really, really closely as we get closer and closer to the deadline. But again, it is a salary cap world. It's going to be difficult. But then specifically, you look at that top six for the Maple Leafs, it would be nice to add maybe another left winger. But nice is being the key word there. So we'll digress on that front, the Leafs feeling really, really good. Speaking of really, really good, I have to give you your props, Rosie, before we get to the PointsBet Canada bet of the day. On Thursday, the last we were live with you, you had the Vikings on the point spread on American Thanksgiving, and you hit. So it's been a couple days, but now we're going to give you another look because you deserve it. You're on a heater. Can you have a 1-game heater?
No, if I get this one right, then that's what's called a winning streak.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So the wrap up is brought to you by our friends at PointsBet Canada. Take the floor, Rosie. I know your pen's
There we
moving there.
go. Get ready to make a deposit, clear out the RRSPs, the education funds. I don't care what it takes. This is a sure thing. Just kidding. I'm not that crazy about it. But, betting is very hard. I've been doing it for a little while, and it's never just a guaranteed thing. There's always something that jumps out to just screw you at the last minute. But today I've got the Islanders at Philadelphia. The Islanders are on a 4-game win streak. Flyers are on a 10-game slide. Just gross. I can't imagine the feeling in there. Everything would probably be twisted and turned up, and everyone's frustrated. No doubt about it. Everyone's scared of Torts right now. But I've got the puck line with them -1.5. The New York Islanders at +140 money too. So you bet $100, you win 100, and you win, you get 140 back. $10, $14 back. That's the way it works. And I can see this team going in there. Barzal's leading the National League in appetizers right now. He's just feeding everybody and setting up goals left, right, and center. The Islanders have only allowed 6 goals in 4 games. The Flyers have only scored 7 in the last 4, and they don't have Travis Konechny. He's on the injured reserve. Everything to me says that Vegas kind of screwed this one up, especially with the value. And at +140, I can see the Islanders definitely taking it to the Flyers tonight, even though it's in Philadelphia. That's my bet today, and I think it's the best one I saw on the board.
Rosie, that was tremendous stuff.
Yes.
That was tremendous information. You fucking nailed the stats. You brought it, the conviction, the confidence.
Yes.
So we're on it. And I hope if you keep winning, you're going to keep going here, okay?
Yeah, I don't mind it. It's weird because I actually hammered this bet because I feel like when I have to actually focus on it and make a bet, I make better ones, where normally I'm just like, hit this button. Fuck, that might happen. And that's just a garbage way to play.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm in the States right now, so I can't even lay any bets, which kind of sucks. But I get it, and maybe it's best for me to take a couple of days off. Although I was winning at the end of last week, but it's been an up and down last couple of weeks. But that's what betting is, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've talked to guys that do it for a living, and it's just insanity the amount of
tough
time and effort you can put in, and you're looking for value, you're looking for Vegas to screw up. And I can't imagine it back in the day when it wasn't by computers. Now the line's changing. Like, say you bet on NFL football, the line's changing as possession changes, as they get closer to the red zone. It's just constant. You can just tell it's just an algorithm of every game that's ever been played in the modern era of football, and the possibility of an outcome, and they're just cranking out algorithms, and it's so hard to beat that. But there still is apparently a human element of the game in Vegas where they can miss things. Like, I love it when a guy gets called up and they just think, oh, this guy just came out of the American League. But there's something behind the scene where, like, you don't understand that he's playing on the second line right now and they're hot as shit. And so is he. And he was only in the American League for a conditioning stint. Like, little things like that where you're like, wow, that's huge value. And you can jump on that stuff. But other than that, it seems like a really difficult thing to do, this sports betting thing. But man, with it going mainstream right now, a lot of people are involved in it, aren't they?
I love everybody was just horned up when they introduced betting into the NHL world, and certainly PointsBet Canada makes it really, really easy for all of us. But everybody's horned up. It's like, I watch the NHL. Like, fuck, I know so many people, myself included, who watch like literally every game, and still, like, you're gonna have your ups, your downs. But that's what makes it fun, right? Like, I think if it was easy, it wouldn't have the same cachet in my world. So we look forward to that bet tonight. Of course, the Islanders beat the Leafs last week. Ilya Sorokin, I took a futures flyer on him to win the Vezina, so I'm feeling good about him. And you're right, it just shows you, like, and the Leafs are a perfect example, right? The fact that their October was dreadful, 4-4-2, and a much different story here in November. And the Flyers did the flip of that script. They were really, really good in October, and they've been dog shit in November. But sadly, like, they're going to be dog shit for the rest of the season because that's what we all projected. It stinks to see. I'm sure for you, you're betting against your former team, and you just hate in general to have a team just lose as much as that team has lately.
Yeah, that's not fun in this league, especially when they showed some hope. Usually it goes the other way, right? Like, you don't start
Yeah,
off, that way and then just have this huge turnaround. Usually you kind of build and figure things out.
yeah.
They've just fallen from grace. I really don't know. I haven't been following them close enough to know what the heck's going on, but maybe everyone just you'd think with Tortorella too, with like a younger team and the new NHL and the new players that are coming out
Yeah.
of junior and call them millennials or Gen Zs or whatever, they just kind of operate a little bit differently. You think they'd start off being terrified of torts and then maybe finding something. And they've gone the complete opposite way. And it seems like this league this year has been a lot of surprises. The Jersey Devils and the Boston Bruins and
Yeah.
Tampa and Florida doing certain things. And it's just kind of like, whoa, this is a different look than we thought, which makes it awesome. I mean, when things are predictable, it's kind of boring. So yeah, it's definitely only November for sure. But like, it's funny because in October we're like, my God, is it the same shit? And they're like, well, last year they had a hot November, and we're like, oh yeah, we'll just rely on that. Good luck. And then November comes and
Boom.
goes as it does, and look at what's going on. So just a lot of interesting stuff. That's why we watch sports, isn't it?
Exactly. Chaos and mayhem, and looking forward to seeing how the bet does tonight. Rosie, excellent job. And we'll talk tomorrow to tee up the San Jose Sharks and the Toronto Maple Leafs from Scotiabank Arena. Okay.
All right. Hopefully, there's not people with funneled out 401ks and RRSPs who are looking for my
Yeah.
head. But I like that.
Yeah, but you can handle yourself. So that's great. That's all that matters. I'm sure people come at you in public sometimes. They're like, buddy, I'll fucking pump the wheels off of you. So with that in mind, that's Jay Rosehill. I'm Nick Alberga, and we'll talk on Wednesday. Take care.